All right, boys and girls, you've been hard at work this morning. Hopefully you've done a great job on your handwriting and you worked on your phonics. We talked about reading and our blends, and you're continuing to review those. Now I want to continue on talking about our math. And boys and girls, we are working on some of the skills we've been doing a lot. So again, mom and dad, these are super easy skills we've already learned. Our addition, be sure and write your numbers. Make sure they're writing their numbers correctly, the same direction. Boys and girls, I know you remember we've talked already several times this week about our number words and, of course, telling time, and then numbers before and after. These are all skills we've done several times last week, and we'll continue working on that. Probably the one that'll need the most review is telling time. Moving that minute hand takes some practice, and then writing it correctly. Remember the number. They already did the dot dot for us. We're going to go ahead and just put 00 for o'clock, and then that 30. Again, mom and dad, that is something different. We've done the telling time to the hour a lot before spring break, but the half past to 30 would need some little extra practice. All right, when you look at the back, same thing again. Addition, circling the correct numbers. The boys and girls should be able to read the number words. And number 3, we talked about 1/2 before spring break. And that is how the terminology used. I just said 1/2. We used sandwiches. We did a lot of drawings on the dry erase board, talking about half, what 1/2 looks like, what 1/2 doesn't look like. Talked about sharing. Would it be fair, equal? So they should know 1/2. Might need a little review because that was a little bit before spring break, but we have talked about 1/2 before. And then, of course, at the bottom, more number words again. So I know earlier, or I guess it was last week, we talked about if you have time to make any kind of flashcards for addition, flashcards for number words. They should be able to read number words 1 to 10, either sound them out or it's a tricky word. Of course, there's a ton of online math games that are always helpful, but I did want to give you one other kind of thing you could do at home just to practice with number recognition and addition. And if you have a dice or two, there's so many different things you can do with it. And I just want to tell you a couple ideas today. Boys and girls, and we've done these in the classroom, and they know how to use them. They know how to count the dots on there. Hopefully they're able to kind of get to where they don't even have to count the dots. They can roll the dice and see that it's a 5 or a 2 on the die. Now, one of the things that we've done before, boys and girls, if you remember, we took the dice and we rolled it, and then we write the number, and then we tally the number. So if I roll it and I have a 5, I roll a 5, I'm going to write the 5, and then I'm going to tally 5. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take our magic pencil. We love to use our magic pencil in kindergarten. You're going to take your magic pencil. You're going to make a 5. Okay, you got your magic pencil. And then you're going to take your magic pencil and you're going to do 5 tally marks. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that number 5. Remember, we call that a diagonal. So that's kind of a fancy word, diagonal line. That makes 5. When we do morning meeting every day, we would tally numbers so the boys and girls know how to do that. But again, just something to practice with that dice. Roll it, write it, tally it. And then if you have 2, there's so much you can do with it. You can still roll, write, and tally it, but take those 2 and you can make a math problem. If you have 2 dice and you roll them, you have a number on one of the dice. And again, it's super helpful if you can write it and they can see it. But if not, they can just read the dots and make their math problem. 3 dots on one dice plus 2, if I roll a 2, equal. And then if they need to, they can take and count those dots up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make a math problem. but it's super helpful if they can write it so they can see it, and then they can hear it and work on getting those math facts down, all right? So that they can just say 3 plus 2, and they're working on getting that in their head, 5. And remember, boys and girls, we also add, and they might needed some practice on that, but anytime we have the number 0, we got to be a little extra careful on that. Remember, we're adding, but 0 isn't anything. So when I add 7 plus 0, I'm not joining anything to 7. Remember, it stays 7. Sometimes that 0 in the addition problem can be a little confusing. And sometimes they try to trick us when we see, and all they do is flip-flop it. Remember that, boys and girls? We talked about how they flip-flopped it. If 7 plus 0 equals 7, we know they just flip-flopped it. 0 plus 7, it stays the answer 7. All right, so we can use our pencil and scrap piece of paper and practice writing those addition problems. Use that dice to roll them. If we get a 4 and we get plus and we roll the other dice and we have a 2, I bet you guys can do that super fast. 4 plus 2, and you should have came up with 6. Whether you're counting the black dots on the dice, which is fine, but also getting that math problem out there. So I want you to work on that. Again, Mom and Dad, if they have some dice, maybe pull them out from an old game or something that they have. They are just super helpful, something really small at home that you can work on to continue practicing those math skills. But again, the curriculum does repeat these a lot, so we just want to make sure they have these nailed down. Addition, number words, time, that as a real life skill. So if you do have that clock hanging, something like this, anytime you see it, again, boys and girls, by 5s. Don't forget, when you're moving those hands, the hour hand, remember 2 o'clock, but as that minute hand moves, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, the hour hand is going to move. It's not going to stay right on that 2. It's going to go a little bit past, and then, of course, 2:30. But on the Google Classroom, there's a couple of songs you can practice counting by 5s if you forgot. Continue to practice counting by 10s, counting by 1s. Remember, we want to have those all locked in our brain. So work hard on your math. Make sure your numbers are faced the right way, and do your very best. Give yourself 3 big pats on the back for hard work. 1, 2, 3. Good job.